This video is kindly brought to you by Squarespace, the all-in-one platform to create a beautiful online presence. Hi, my name's Janelle and welcome back to Rosery Apparel. Today I have such a fun sewing day ahead of me. I recently picked up this vintage pattern from an op shop and I actually filmed the whole op shopping trip if you did want to go check that video out. It's a blouse pattern with honestly one of the biggest collars I've ever seen. I'm really into this big collar trend at the moment and I'm so excited to have a go at making maybe a couple of these blouses. Not only does this blouse have a super big collar, but it's also got this really lovely tie-up detail as well. And it also looks like it's got some really lovely pin tuck pleat detailing along the front of the blouse, which is really nice. And I love little details like that in vintage patterns. So I'm excited to have a go at making those. And so the main blouse is just the square collar as it is, but there's also a ruffled version, which I really like the look of and want to try and see if I can have a go at making today. I am in a bit of a pickle because I'm having severe decision fatigue. I just can't quite figure out what fabrics I want to make this blouse out of. Hence why I think I might end up making two blouses in this video. I'm not sure yet, but let me show you the fabrics I have picked out. Okay, so here are the three fabrics that I'm thinking of making this blouse out of. Firstly, I have this vintage embroidered tablecloth, which is just the most beautiful thing ever. The colors in it are so lovely and it's just such a fun piece that I've had in my collection for quite a while and I kind of forgot about it. And ever since I found this pattern, I thought maybe the square edge of the tablecloth could make the square collar of this blouse. The only problem I'm having is I just don't know what fabrics to use for it. I was hoping to find a fabric that matched this kind of stone color perfectly, but I didn't have very much luck with that. So instead I picked up this one which kind of matches the trim. So it's a little bit of a contrast, which is nice. And I think they do go very nicely together. At first I had planned to make this green fabric in the ruffled version of the blouse, but then I was thinking, this is why I'm getting so confused. The green in the tablecloth matched so nicely with this green that maybe I should make the tablecloth collar with this fabric. Ultimately, I think maybe this is a little bit too busy. Like already it's a really lovely bright green with a texture. Is adding the collar going to be a little bit too much? And then that way I could use this fabric that I bought and then I could have two blouses. I'm just really confused what to do. Please tell me I'm not the only one that takes so long to decide which fabrics to use for which projects. I often find it's actually the most time-consuming part of the whole project is figuring out which fabric to use. But I think I will end up using this green for the ruffled version of the blouse and then stick to the plan and keep these two fabrics together to make the squared collared blouse. Let's open up the pattern and see if it's even possible to make the collar out of this tablecloth. Okay, so the shape of the collar isn't as perfectly square as I was expecting it to be, which does make cutting out the square shape of the tablecloth a little bit tricky. Also, the past owner has cut these slits into it. I wonder if that's because she was maybe making the collar out of something square as well. So I feel like that does make it sit a little bit more square. But I think what I'm going to do is start by making the ruffled blouse first with this fabric, just so I can figure out how this blouse actually goes together. And then I think that will help me to be able to figure out how to make the collar out of this beautiful tablecloth. Something I always like to do when sewing with particularly vintage patterns is set my iron to the lowest possible setting and give the pattern pieces a good press to remove all the creases from being folded up for the last few decades. I then measure myself to see which size would be best for me. Luckily, the vintage pattern had my size. This pattern actually had 3 sizes in the one pattern, which is pretty rare. Often older patterns were only available in individual pattern sizes, so you would only get 1 size per pattern purchased. And because I was making the smallest size available in this pattern, I decided to use my water erasable pen to mark out my size directly onto the fabric, so that way I could keep the original pattern intact for use later. While I get started on cutting out this blouse, let's take a moment to talk about the sponsor of this video. This video is very kindly sponsored by Squarespace, the all-in-one platform to create a beautiful online presence and launch your passion project. Whether you'd like to start making and selling your own products, create a beautiful portfolio to showcase your work, write a blog, or simply create any website of any kind, on Squarespace you can create your dream website all by yourself. No knowledge or background needed in coding whatsoever. You simply select from a range of their beautifully designed templates, and once you've picked a template, you can then customize it completely to suit your brand and style. When I sat down to create my website back in 2016, I was able to make my dream website in literally an afternoon. It doesn't take that much time, and I was just totally amazed by how easy it was to make a website myself. Since then, I haven't looked back and have been using Squarespace the entire time. Something that I love about Squarespace is not only can I access my website through my desktop computer, but they also have an app that you can download onto your phone where you can access all of your website's information, such as analytics and all the orders that have come through. You don't have to take your computer with you. You can just literally take your phone and run your website straight from your phone. So if you'd like to create a beautiful online presence of your own, then head to squarespace.com for a free trial, which I totally recommend you do so you can test it out and see just how easy it is for yourself. And then when you're ready to launch your beautiful new website, head to squarespace.com/Rosery Apparel for 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Thanks Squarespace for sponsoring this video. Okay, so I have cut out all the pieces and now I have to have a look at the instructions, and it looks like we're going to be starting with those pin tucks, which I'm really excited about. I'm really interested to see how the texture of this fabric looks with this cute little detail. For the pin tuck pleats, there were 2 lines needed to make them, the fold line and the stitch line. Again, I used my water erasable pen to mark out the position of the pleats onto the fabric, and then used the natural line and texture of the fabric to make sure the pleats were folded and pressed straight. Once the fabric was folded, I stitched along the second line to create the cute pin tuck detail onto the fabric. Pin tuck pleats are done and they're looking super cute. I've done them on the other side as well. So yeah, they're just going to sit along the front of the blouse, which I think is a really fun detail. I love pin tucks so much. Now I need to finish the facing edge, well, what I'm assuming is the facing edge, because I think this gets folded to create a nice facing onto the inside, which is really cool. I love it when pattern pieces look like this. It's just such a clever way to do facings. How does the collar get attached then? Okay, anyway, we'll get to the collar in a second. I'm just going to do this and then we'll figure out how to go about the collar. Now for the part I've really been looking forward to, making the collar. To give the collar a bit of structure, I cut the collar template out in some interfacing and ironed it onto the wrong side of one of the collar pieces. Then it was time to make the ruffle, which was basically made out of a thin long rectangle of fabric that I started by hemming 3 of the edges and then sewed 2 rows of gathering stitches along the remaining raw edge. And then once the ruffle was gathered up, I pinned it along 5 of the collar edges, leaving the 2 edges closest to the neck edge ruffleless. I decided to actually follow the pattern's instructions and base stitch the ruffle in place next, which is just basically a longer than normal stitch that will keep the ruffle in place and is a lot more secure than simply just using pins. And then once I'd done that, I placed the other collar piece on top and then stitched all of the layers together, sandwiching the ruffle in place as I sewed. I then trimmed away the excess fabric at the corners and clipped the curves, which will make the collar sit a lot nicer once it's turned the right way out. Okay, so the collar is done. Look how adorable it is. It's actually massive. Hopefully it's not too big, like too ridiculously big, but I do love it so much. The ruffles are so adorable and it did take quite a long time to make, but I think now that it's finished, it is so worth it. And now I have the fun job of attaching it to the blouse. I've attached the collar to the blouse and it's looking amazing, and I'm just trying to figure out how to make this necktie and I can't for the life of me figure it out. It's just not making any sense to me. I think it's probably because it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon and my brain just stops working at 3 o'clock. So what I'm going to do instead is spend the afternoon working on the sleeves, and then I will tackle this necktie first thing in the morning when my brain is actually working. Now, and I just had a read of the instructions and I'm so glad I waited until this morning to do it, because I don't know, it just seems really complicated. It probably won't be, but sometimes when using vintage patterns, the instructions just seem really vague, and I don't know. I'm not making much sense of it at all, but let me show you what I think I have to do. So for the necktie, I have to start by just joining these two pieces together, which is simple enough. But then I have to kind of attach it just to this neck edge and then turn it right side together, leaving this part open. Yeah, just to me seems really complicated. I think it's going to be fine once I get started. I just need to like have it visually in front of me and then it will make sense. So instead, yesterday afternoon, I made both sleeves with the cuffs and everything, so they just need to be attached to the blouse as well. And I have to say I'm really happy with how it's looking so far. I think the texture of this fabric is so nice, and I knew it was going to look so cute with the ruffles as well. I am a little bit afraid that the collar is like too big. Like I think it might be way over the top, but I guess I won't be able to tell fully until I finish it because it might be taken in a little bit by the necktie. So yeah, I'm excited to attach this necktie and try it on and see how it looks. So first I attach the necktie to just along the neck edge of the blouse and then stitch it in place. I then fold and press the remaining part of the tie with right sides together and then stitch it together, leaving the part of the tie that I just stitched to the neck edge unstitched. Next, I turn the stitched part of the tie right side out, then give it a good press, and then hand stitch the remaining part of the tie to the inside of the blouse. In the end, it really wasn't that complicated at all. I finally figured it out and look how cute it is. Oh my goodness. This is turning out so adorable. I'm just really happy with this fabric in this style. I just think it is so cute and the texture of it really does add to it really nicely. I would have probably added a bit of interfacing just to this neck edge just because it seems like a little bit flimsy. So now I'm going to sew the side seams together and then attach the sleeves. Once the sleeves were attached, it was time to pick the buttons for the blouse. I did have a few options in my stash, but none really felt right with this blouse, so instead I decided to make some with the same fabric, which did take a little bit of extra time and effort, but I think it's definitely going to be worth it. And now it's time to see how my new sewing machine goes with the buttonhole stitch. This was the first time using the buttonhole stitch on my new machine, and I have to say it did an amazing job and is honestly even better than my old machine. Once all the buttonholes were stitched, including the ones on the cuffs, I hand stitched the buttons in place. Okay, so now that the sleeves are attached and the blouse is just about finished, I have to say, I think I like it. It is definitely a statement and the collar is massive, but I just love all the details of this blouse and it kind of just makes such an interesting piece. I love the texture of the fabric and the cute little tie, and obviously the ruffled collar as well is just amazing. And here's a little look at the handmade buttons on it as well, and the pleated detailing along the front. There's just so much happening with this blouse that, I don't know, I'm kind of in love. And yeah, I'm really curious to see if I am drawn to wearing this blouse or if I feel confident enough to wear it. I really love it, but I don't know, it is quite out there and completely different to anything I have made for my wardrobe so far, which is fun. It's fun to experiment with different styles, so I'm glad I've given it a go. I still need to just hem the bottom of the blouse, and it's actually quite long on me, so I need to trim it a fair bit, but yeah, once that's done, I'll try it on properly and get some nice shots of me wearing this blouse so you can see what it looks like. I'd love to know what you think of this blouse in the comments. Is it a little bit too over the top 80s, or is it the perfect statement piece? I think I like it. It's definitely very different for me. In saying all of that, I'm in two minds on whether or not I should make the tablecloth version, just because it is such a statement blouse. I just wonder if I need two statement blouses in my wardrobe like that. I feel like one is more than enough. So I'm gonna give it a few days to think about it, and I may potentially be ending this video here, or I might have a go at making the tablecloth one. I'm just gonna feel it out and see if I wear a blouse with so many statement features. I feel like the tablecloth one will be even more of a statement because it's a tablecloth. Yeah, I just need to have a little bit of a think about it, and I'll let you know what my decision is. So it's a few days later now, and I'm actually wearing the blouse today. I love it way more than I originally thought I did. I think the size of the collar is perfect. Any smaller, and I don't think it would be such a fun statement piece. Like I said, it is a different style for me, but I'm excited to experiment with different styles a bit more this year and go for things that are a little bit out of my comfort zone. So yeah, I'm so glad I had a go at making this blouse, and I think it's a really amazing addition to my wardrobe. In saying all of that, I am going to end this video here though, because over the last few days I started editing this video and putting all the clips together, and at the moment it's a 29-minute video, which is just way too long. So if I was to make another blouse in this video, it would be a never-ending video basically. So I may end up making the tablecloth version in a future video. So yeah, I would love to know your thoughts and whether or not you think I should make the tablecloth collared blouse. It was a lot of fun to bring you along with me for the whole making process of this blouse. Usually when I make videos, I kind of have everything planned before I start filming, but with this one, I kind of made it up as I went, which was a lot of fun, and hopefully it was interesting for you to see the kind of decision-making process. And yeah, if you enjoyed this video, it would mean a lot to me if you could give it a like. And don't forget to go and check out Squarespace, the sponsor of this video, and make the most of the free trial so you can design your own dream website yourself and see just how easy it is. Thanks so much for watching this video until the very end, and I'll see you in the next one.